questions in case talk about. But at least the meeting later today. This is still kind of give you some a little bit more of a background of what we're trying to accomplish there. It's still called the DAC, the Dean's Advisory Committee, which obviously for practical reasons I don't like at all, committee for as opposed to board. So the idea is, and we're discussing kind of all the way to Manny Kadre, the new chairman of the Board of Trustees, is to rename that structure into a board and like a Dean's Advisory Board, so the term is still being discussed. So yesterday, last night, we had a dinner meeting with some of the prospective board members, some from this previous DAC and some new ones. So the idea is to have like a high caliber true board that will help us get to the next level. And I'm envisioning that as part of similar to other kind of aspirant schools, that they have very prestigious boards that with a very strong philanthropic component in the 7 digits expectations for a commitment, and some at least 25,000 in terms of annual support. So that's kind of the idea of this new board that will be both philanthropically and in terms of caliber of individuals, like big shot executives, successful entrepreneurs. That should be our goal. And of course, I'm always asking for nominations, suggestions, people you might know, people from other boards who might be at that level. So we need to have a very prestigious board. The idea is also to keep that the previous committee, the DAC, is maybe rename it still from a committee to the council, and that could be a much broader group. Maybe I wouldn't mind 50, 75 people, with some smaller expectation, maybe envisioning somewhere in the 10,000 range annually, and maybe some few 100,000 in terms of some of the bigger gifts. So it's part of the philanthropic component. These not need to be like big shot CEOs or but at least people who are committed and so forth. So anyway, we're looking at this structure that will help us get to the next level, both philanthropically and in terms of prestige and the advisory role of these two boards. So anyway, we have the meeting today. So I was just thinking in the just to give you a full kind of we have prepared some slides for this. So I might as well share with you if you don't mind. Hopefully I can share. And then just do that. Hopefully you can see this slide. That's kind of the remarks. So basically I can follow these, and then can you see the slides changing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, so as a vision, it still is being debated, but this is kind of at least my thought, given what we're discussing, and that's something for us to be discussed as part of this strategic planning exercise. And so, in that spirit, I will not go through the slides kind of specifically, but say that we have undertaken and started the strategic planning exercise. So this is something I'd like the vision in terms of what we want to be, and we set the questions that we have. Why Miami Airport, and what we want to be when we're 100 years old in 2029. So I'd like to have at least a tangible goal, whether it's top 20 or top 25, whatever we think collectively is feasible. We're willing to work hard towards that. But since it is my own remarks, I can say that if we get our act together and we all work very well together in the next 5 years, we can become a top 20 business school. So that's one of the exercises we'll be doing as part of the ARush group that many of you are part of, or it's a smaller working group that we're meeting on the 1st of November to discuss some more kind of practical things. But we like to have this kind of overall vision of what we want to be in 5 years. And of course, happy to please interrupt me to ask any questions you might have. But this is kind of at least what I would like to present to our advisory board. Some priorities that I have set aside, and that's something that I'd like to do. I mean, as I mentioned many times, I'm very passionate about placing our students as kind of our key goal and enhancing their career success. And to do that, we need to enhance our connections with industry, starting with our own backyard here in Miami, South Florida, nationally, globally. So we need to have strong connections with industry. And that's one of the priorities I'd like to make us the top destination in terms of career success, starting from start working on your internship as early as freshman year, and basically you have 3 years and 9 months to get your dream job. And of course, on our end, I'd like to see stronger industry engagement, starting with myself personally, spending more, a lot of time building those partnerships across industry. I'd like all of our faculty to help us on that front with personal connections through our centers, institutes. Also, we'll be building up our career services, the UNANWE, the graduate side, the undergraduate with Mark Shapiro. I'd like to see more integration between those two areas, and also with TOEFL. So that should be one of our areas of strategic differentiation, so we can both support our students, but also, as I will get in a second, help us with our research, with our priorities, with our stronger experiential learning in our classes. So it could be a win-win for our curricula, our programs, our degrees, even executive education. I think we stand to gain a lot from building these industry connections. The fact that Miami is literally booming as a business hub, I think it should be a great thing for us to leverage. And as part of the strategic planning, at least what I'm envisioning is let's tap onto some of these key areas, key industries in the city, because those will be local to us, and they can help us more directly the various way to build strong connections, including philanthropically. I'd like to see some stronger corporate connections. That's going to be, of course, a multi-pronged, multifaceted effort, but I think as a business school, we should be the key unit on campus to enhance that connection, including the entire university, if you may. A lot of things here. We'll be announcing very shortly a new associate dean of career and industry engagement. She will be starting in January. So we'll make that announcement as soon as this person is ready to do so. But we hired a world-class person to help us get there. We already hired 2 people in the UNANWE Career Center, and the plan is to beef up that entire unit. By the way, any questions on this or anything else? I want to make sure that I'm open to questions. Okay, moving on. One of the things that I noticed, and it was, our marketing, recruiting, kind of branding, it was not where we should be. We didn't have a marketing person, not even a team. So that's something we're started to develop. So next week we'll be announcing a new associate dean of marketing who can help us with our entire marketing, promotion, recruiting, and eventually, as part of after we finish the strategic planning exercise, to also do a branding exercise for the school. That means who we are, how our strategic planning will reflect how we need to get to the next level, and what we want to be seen as a business school moving forward. Assuming we start the strategic plan in 2025, we should have at that point roughly a very strong branding messaging as well. And we can talk about that as part of our strategic planning exercise. several initiatives, and Lily Steiner has started working on several priorities for us, including the 2 online programs we have already in the works, the online BT Masters and the Masters in Finance that's going to be relaunched within the business school. So that will be a priority. But moving forward, we're thinking of several other new programs, the professional MBA, to bring it back into a more I would say blended format, with catering better to working professionals, and that's what we're designing in terms of in parallel to the online MBA program, and finding a way that is really attractive to working professionals. So more here, and of course happy to answer any questions. I mean, Harry, Ola have been leading this effort together with Lily and several other faculty. Moving on, by the way, please feel free to interrupt me. I mean, I'm sure I'm giving you a lot of materials and a very high-level view, but so if you have any questions on that, please feel free to interrupt. On the online, I mean, there is a big component I think we should be doing more on summer, and summer is almost exclusively even undergraduate online, and that's something I'd like to do a much better job, both in terms of the quality of our online offerings for summer, but also make it more attractive for students. There is an issue that I was quite surprised that summer courses are much more expensive and they're not covered by financial aid. So basically we're the most expensive school I think in the country on some survey in terms of summer offerings. Students have to pay the top dollar and whatever 600 per course or something at the undergraduate. Unfortunately, nothing can be done this summer, but the undergraduate program at the university level with Maria Stantino is working on creating a more, I would say, reasonably priced for summer. And so combination of good online offerings and better priced, I think will allow our students to take those courses in the summer while pursuing internships. And that should be another thing, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. So that would be, I think, there's a great opportunity on that front. And the university is really betting on a lot on the U online, and we're working very closely that we'll be managing all the offerings, the development, with some support from Patrick Kern, who's been taking over the former DCIE. I know has been, not the best partner in the past, but they're working to revamp it. We're working with them in different ways, and that's something that we should be, knowing more in the next few months. Executive education, lifelong learning, another big initiative. Please. Please, go ahead. Any question? Just noise? Okay. All right, let me go on. Please feel free to interrupt me if any questions. I know there's a lot of material. I want to give you like a very comprehensive update as to what we are doing.
I have a quick question. Do you know why they charge so much in the summer? Is that the business school or is that the university in general?
No, everything is university in general, and there was a study that I can share with you. It was presented in this meeting with the provosts and deans, and there was a list of, if I recall, all the kind of top, actually both private and kind of competing schools, including, I remember it was FIU on the list, and FAU, and Florida, and Boston University, George Washington, if I recall well, kind of some combination of like competing institutions locally and kind of nationally. And what are the most expensive? So basically the idea is that there is no financial aid in the summer. I think this is probably federal or whatever rules, and it's not part of your regular tuition. So you pay whatever is the posted price. So for a course that is $2,200 per credit hour, if you take a summer course, you pay $600, and there is not much you can do with federal financial aid. So Chris, I don't know the exact details, to be honest with you, but that was the thing when I said we need to be doing more in the summer, because that's a great plan to keep students from graduating on say 600 per credit, but per course, which sounds very little, but that may be the case. And then they transfer those courses, including Miami-Dade and FIU and whatever other university, and then they transfer those courses to us. So that's something that obviously we lose a lot of revenue, and quality can be suspect. Anyway, there are different things that they don't seem to be doing very well. So this is not a business school thing. I guess we are pushing, to fix this issue, so at least we can offer better courses, which is kind of on us. Price them well, so at least we have students finding attractive financially, and also not to rely on transfer courses from schools of that are not as competitive as we are.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Exegate is another area that I'd like to.
Paul,
Yes,
sorry, just a quick question on the previous line of conversation. Are these summer courses also credited? Like faculty get credit differently for these teaching in the summer or no?
This one I have to. I think it should be. Most of them will be offload. I know Harry. Any thoughts on that? I'm not. Or any of the chairs knows that.
So, because most faculty appointments run up until May 15th, right, what you do in summer usually goes off-load. So faculty sign up voluntarily based on demand for various classes. Usually the majority of the demand in the summer is for the intro preparatory classes, the 100 level, 200 level classes, because someone's trying to get back on track if they've not completed a prereq. So we offer those, and if the enrollment minimum is met, then they move forward. All of the summer courses, we present the offerings and they're all managed entirely centrally. We don't actually do much with that other than offer the courses.
Because I think that's another thing that perhaps needs a little bit more thought. I don't know how much of that is in our hands, that if we are going to sort of expand that area, it might also make sense to think in terms of faculty who want to teach there, and that would be considered as their in-load teaching. I don't know if that...
Actually, Usma, it has been done in the past. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, a faculty has an incomplete load because a class got cancelled, and they may pick up a summer class just to finish their load. So that has been done.
So there's a provision that even if that's what faculty wants to do, and we expand our summer offerings to do,
correct,
do that in the... Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, these are good questions, and we're still figuring out all the issues, and I think I saw you.
I just wanted to add one thing. I think Uzma's point is a very good one, and thanks, DJ, for that clarification. So we can see where it goes in load if it's helping a faculty to fulfill a vacancy. But if we're going to expand this, those may not be the only opportunities. So I think if, as long as it might be able to be used for in-load for faculty to do this for future use or banking something, that might also present some opportunities to make sure that we are able to fill these classes that get expanded.
Paul, is the idea though that these are just online classes only, or are these in person as well?
Well, my understanding is that we are not restricted of having face-to-face courses in the summer, but my understanding, or at least what we should be doing, in my humble opinion, is that kind of encouraging students on my first point to take internships, including at the freshman level, and not kind of forcing them to stay here. And I mean, obviously, if they want to take face-to-face classes and that's the market, they want to be here to take classes, and they would say their interests are in Miami, I don't have any problem whatsoever. I mean, I'm very agnostic to formats, and actually that's one of the things I'd like to talk to you at some point about, online, blended, face-to-face, 100%. I mean, honestly, for me, it doesn't make a difference whether we have a Zoom meeting or I'm presenting in front of you, as long as my content is hopefully good. So the same thing applies to courses. So if it
If I may just add to that, so Paul's correct in saying that we have full flexibility to offer it either online or face-to-face. But historically, when we've offered it face-to-face, you get 5 or 6 students for a class and you don't make the enrollment minimums. But when you open it up, somebody who's gone back home for the summer because they're not staying in the dorms or whatever the case may be for an internship, like Paul had said, they are able to enroll for those classes. So faculty have actually come to prefer online because there's a greater chance of meeting the enrollment targets and having the class run.
And of course, I mean, getting into details, I mean, I'm also agnostic as to, as long as the quality is good, whether online is synchronous, asynchronous, any kind of format, and that's what we asked Lily Steiner to create a team that will help faculty create very engaging courses. And whether you leverage the classroom and you want to have, even during the semesters, for example, any portion to be face-to-face, some portions online, synchronous, asynchronous, you want to live stream, like high flex classroom, any variation that you'd like, I mean, it's reasonable, so let's be innovative on that front. But Summer, as Harry said, I think the demand from students is mostly online, so, and as long as we do a good job offering those courses in a proper format that is really engaging, personalized, that's what we want to achieve. All right, moving forward, exec ed, another area that I think we should be doing more. I guess with Ronnie here kind of overseeing this effort, we have made some good strides already. My light turned off. Basically we're projecting, and last year I think we're just shy of $3 million. This fiscal year we're projecting about 4 million in revenue, which is like 35-37% increase. And there are quite a few other opportunities that we may go much higher than 4 million. So that's a kind of a bright spot. We signed, if you saw the news, kind of a major agreement with the professional athlete community. That's a multi-million contract over 6 years. So that would help us expand our offering. This is kind of part of the NFL Players Association that they subsidize exec ed that we're offering, or we're part of that offering. And we'll be starting next fiscal year, sometime in June, with the NBA and looking into the other professional sports. That could be a multi-million, it will be a multi-million, it could be a multi-million if we kind of take all the professional leagues. Beyond that, there are many new custom programs that we're offering, and with some of the people here at Steve, we're working on the healthcare front, we're working on various programs in leadership, in technology, and so forth. So we have more than 20 different custom programs and growing. And again, that's something I'd like faculty to be, of course, involved in teaching. And of course, if you have any connections with companies that may be interested in any custom program, and we'll be happy to talk to them. I think we should be at the forefront of offering these offerings in the spirit of lifelong learning to many companies in the area and beyond. Also, the open enrollment for kind of the general public, managers, executives, also doing well. We have through partnerships several such programs for CFOs, CEOs, CMOs. So again, if you are interested in offering any course and you think there is a market for that, whether it's open enrollment or through companies, please talk to Ronnie or me, because I think there is much more potential for us to promote non-degree education. And on that one, we're working also very closely with the university that is part of this former DCIA mention. They had that kind of non-degree education, and we're discussing how to work together, or at least kind of streamline our offers in like non-degree education. But more here to come, and because this could be a great opportunity for us to partner with other colleges, School of Medicine, and many other areas to offer some interdisciplinary non-degree offerings across the board. Any questions on that, on the exec ed, lifelong learning?
Yes, Paul, a quick question, thought. We were just having a conversation 2 days ago in our department on this aspect exec ed came up, several of faculty in our department didn't want to engage in exec ed because they were like, we get peanuts. So one thing that, and I was actually going to propose that in comments from the floor for today, that have you ever done benchmarking in terms of what is our compensation for exec ed programs look like compared to other sister schools?
Not on top of my head, we have the numbers, but when Rory presented the numbers, were actually quite competitive for our peer set.
So it'd be great if we can get that information, because the perception, at least in our department, is that we don't pay well at all.
Okay. Any faculty who teach here can give us some numbers. I mean, I know that. And I know sometimes the hours taught are not exactly because of the time that you need to actually develop courses. So I understand that when we say like 500 per hour, but you need to spend 3 times that. I understand that kind of concept.
And they also often seem to be these one-shot programs, so the faculty is not as invested in developing them because they're like, you don't pay well and it's just a one-shot thing. But I think that the conversation we were having, of course, that was one aspect, that there seems to be not enough continuity in these, but also that the hourly rate that you get is not competitive. So if any information we can get on that would be terrific.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I was just going to provide a little bit of background information. So I believe the rate is about 5,000 per day. I remember when John Quelch first came in, he had talked about trying to raise that to 7,500 a day, and I'm not sure. We had to do a lot of restructuring of the program, and I don't think that part of it ever got off the ground. But yeah, I mean, it's an important thing to look at, especially as we want to try to expand this.
That's good feedback. Thanks, Uzma. Thanks, John. And I mean, that's kind of the numbers we're talking about. Actually, it's more like, I mean, obviously, I mean, you say, the competition is Wharton and Harvard. I mean, this is not the case because we cannot charge as much as they do. And I see their numbers. I mean, like 50,000 for a weekend. I mean, we cannot charge 50,000 for a weekend. So we can pay, like 1,500 per hour to faculty. So we have to at least kind of benchmark to more realistic, where we are currently, and of course, we need to invest collectively on that. So to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. And I had in my previous institution, well, if you don't pay me $1,000 an hour, I'm not doing this. Well, at some point, you have to kind of figure out a reasonable number. So obviously, I don't want to, ask faculty to do it for peanuts or for like not worth their while. At the same time, if we want to invest in something that makes sense and will help us as a school, we cannot say, well, we expect Harvard prices, but we don't have the brand name to command the prices on the market. And we need to invest in this area. So, having 3 million is not a very good number. If we get to 4 million this year, it's better. But if you want to be a school that makes 25, 30, which are schools like Chapel Hill and Georgetown, which is more reasonable, so it's not a Harvard at 250 million. We have to kind of benchmark as an aspirant to be the 20 to 25 million in the next 5 years. And how do we get there? And if we're at that level, we might be able to offer, kind of close to $1,000 per hour, as opposed to, I guess, 600, assuming, the 5,000 per day. So that's I think that's kind of a, understand it's a chicken and egg problem, but we need to kind of figure it out, what's the kind of, where we are and where we should be. And if we get to where we should be, we should reward the faculty accordingly. Your point is about like recurrent executive programs, custom programs. That's the best thing. You don't want to create those, one-time custom programs. The company just does something and then never comes and then you develop everything. I know there's a course development fee as well that's embedded in addition to that. And of course, the best programs are the ones that run, for many years, forever, and you teach the same thing, and you don't have to develop new, offerings, or at least you have to update it, over the years. Another thing that we're, working on, and I guess Harry has been helping us as well, is custom degree programs or custom degree-oriented programs. So meaning that companies the professional athlete community now decided this non-degree program, and they expressed interest in like an MBA type of degree. So I know 10 years ago we had this MBA for artists and athletes, so we can do something like that custom for them. When I say custom, not the curriculum per se, but the delivery. We can go to them. We can create this kind of professional athletes, for example, that they'd like to be, I don't know, in South Beach or wherever, and then we offer a program for a specific cohort that follows a certain, let's say, MBA program. I mean, if we can do that, then we have a steady state of students taking these programs. I mean, that's the best of both worlds, better than trying to market an MBA program to the general public, and better than kind of an on-off or kind of a smaller executive non-degree program. So anyway, many opportunities, and hopefully we can engage more faculty with such offerings.
Thank you.
Paul, what do you mean by lifelong learning?
Well, that's a nice concept of saying that, well, we cater to kind of executive education is for executives per se. So when I'm saying lifelong learning is a non-degree, which, okay, I take it back. I mean, it includes everything, degree and non-degree, the lifelong learning. But I'm just saying I don't want to cater only to, undergraduate students 18 to 22 or, specialized master's MBA students. So we're saying that, we cater to everybody who wants to get a degree, whether it's an, executive education, non-degree education, non-degree at all levels. And even like, for example, we're discussing the executive DBA, for example. This is for, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, senior executives. That will be part of the lifelong learning as well. So it's more like to say that we're very much open to catering to a broader audience besides the traditional, kind of undergraduate, graduate students we typically cater to. That's kind of the the nice term to show that we're open for business from the K through 12 all the way to the, I don't know, 85, 90 years or plus, demographic.
But I'm just thinking about the retired demographic.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a completely different kind of course. Is that a direction that you're interested in going in?
I'm interested in everything, Howie. If there is a market that it makes sense for us and can be lucrative, and we can, pay the faculty well, I'm very much open to that. The executive is the most lucrative in general. It's very competitive, of course. I mean, if we can tap onto, any market that makes sense in that kind of pre-K to, I don't know, 85, 90, whatever is the euphemism for, whoever is the person that is interested in education, I'm very much open to that. So, if there is a market out there and we can do it for, that makes sense for us, and from a quality standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, very much open to anything that makes sense for us.
I would love to get some kindergartners on campus. That would be fun.
Yeah, actually, that's actually, Usman, that's a good point. That one of the discussions we're having with the DCIE is that there are some kind of incredibly lucrative programs for high school students, like college preparation. As you probably know, math is a big challenge for everybody these days. So if we can actually have like math boot camps for high schoolers and that kind of prepare them to get college credit, and also for us as a university to be more likely to come to the University of Miami because they take advantage. They see our dorms. They see like what it is to take some kind of college level courses as high schoolers. That would be great. And of course, you take the concept down to pre-K. I don't know what expertise we have in the pre-K space. That's a little bit more, but maybe with the College of Education, we can do something more intelligent there. And that was kind of part of what I mentioned, that we should be thinking not just we cater to business executives, but cater to a broader demographic. Again, I'm not sure if it's worth our while, and everything has a cost, and we have the expertise of the business school to be in that space. But if we can facilitate something in any space, I'm very much open to collaboration, catering to some, any business. So the more we can offer education that is valuable, is helps upskilling, reskilling. I mean, if we kind of do what we preach, that is important, learning is important, education is important, I think we should be open to any reasonable opportunities. All right, moving on. By the way, I can talk forever, so I don't know if I'm sure you have an agenda besides me talking, so feel free to interrupt. Alumni relations is one of our kind of weak points. I mean, we do not have alumni relations person. We're at the university. That's one of the areas I'd like to build, and definitely has a plan on that. I can talk a little bit more on that. Fundraising, a little bit some kind of interesting news with the new president. The campaign, unlike earlier, was supposed to be ending at end of the next calendar year, December 31st, 2025. It's going to end April 6, 25. It might be good because we're pushing for gifts. It's really bad for me personally because in the fundraising you want to build relationship before you ask for money. So I was hoping to at least get like almost a year on the job, and then kind of end of next spring, next fall to start asking for some money. So that has to be condensed in half. So hopefully using this fall for relationship building and using the early spring until April 6 for kind of some big gifts. So anyway, we're working with our fundraising team for some transformative gifts, some ideas around centers, some big gifts. What I can talk about is two opportunities, two kind of gifts that closed. Yesterday we celebrated a 2.5 million total with matching. One of our alumnus, David Mullings, and his family, Robert, and his mother, Anthony. We had a nice celebration during this President's Council event. He announced this gift, and the very success story on entrepreneurship, starting from the business school and the Caribbean. They're part of our Latin America and Caribbean initiative that I guess Alex is part of, and so they have strong interest in supporting us even further. I cannot say it formally, but I will be raising a multi-million chair, and I will hopefully make the announcement in the next few days. So as part of getting more faculty chairs to help us recruit even better faculty, help us retain and recruit more faculty. So that's one of the priorities in fundraising, to get transformative gifts around centers, institutes, major initiatives, faculty chairs, and of course scholarship financial support for our students. And then kind of after we finish this campaign, and now with this April 6 deadline, the plan is to also beef up the fundraising team, try to invest more across the board, have a fundraising plan. And I guess the last word on this slide, that's going to be our next major kind of capital campaign for building and focus our fundraising efforts. Kind of going through that, again, maybe just kind of renowned faculty, kind of in the spirit of faculty chairs, and also in terms of faculty recruiting. Well, we tried to get 8 new faculty positions this year, kind of pushing that watermark up. At least for now, we got 4 positions. So our watermark is now at 100 tenure track faculty members. So we posted for 4 we call evergreen positions across potentially all departments, all ranks. And I talked to the chairs earlier this week that we're trying to find different innovative solutions for working with different institutes or schools on campus to kind of maximize those positions. So anyway, the good news is that we increased the watermark to at least 100 tenure track faculty. So we're looking for kind of high quality, I call it world-class faculty, to help us along our kind of strategic areas of differentiation. So again, probably a longer conversation. Hopefully your chairs will give you more information, but the idea is to identify and recruit some world-class faculty, hopefully along some more interdisciplinary, high-profile areas of the school. Then I guess not too much to report on the global, but it's part of my bigger goal is to enhance our global partnerships, enhance our global visibility. So Paola Moreno expressed, we actually been working with DJ associate dean of global initiatives or something like that to lead that effort. But that's something I'd like to see more of. And as soon as we get our strategic planning underway, I'd like to see more global partnerships, some combinations of 4+1 programs, 2+2, and be able to have multiple partnerships that allow us to expand our global footprint. And by the way, please feel free to interrupt. Try to be very respectful of your time and not to hijack the whole meeting. And then finally, we started officially yesterday, like the planning for our new building. So we hired an architectural firm to do the assessment. We're looking at two locations on campus. The one is kind of the more traditional one in the where the fountain is, on the kind of towards the back of campus, and the other one is a small area down Stanford Drive between the Secular Drive and our existing like Jenkins Hall. So we're starting this exercise along with the university master plan, and we're hoping the next few months to have some renderings as to how the building will be looking. Blanca, we kind of being the liaison with the architect, facilities, the architectural firm, and in the next few weeks, next few days, we'll be looking for feedback as to needs in terms of classroom, networking spaces, specialty spaces, centers, institutes. So the idea is to identify what are our needs in terms of office space, everything across the board, what we have in our existing buildings, and as part of our growth, what do we need to do to have in this new building. I'll probably stop here, and if you have any questions, suggestions. I mean, I know it's a very multi-year, multi-faceted initiative, but I like to have like kind of this showpiece building that will help us and hopefully have it ready by 2029 to celebrate our 100-year anniversary. So since it's kind of the end of this slide, happy to stop and answer any question on the building or, of course, anything on this slide.
Questions for Paul?
So,
Who's
quick
left?
question. Well, this is amazing, Paul. This is a lot of stuff on our plates, on your plate, and very exciting. Not to add more to it, but just wanted to see what you have thought about it, because I think it was last week the Vanderbilt news was all over that they're coming to West Palm, I believe, or at least in our backyard, and that made me thinking that I don't know if we do at all, or if we have ever thought about offering programs, let's say in West Palm, that are, so we're thinking obviously about online, but for people who want these physical kind of programs, I know it's not very hard to have a group of faculty travel to West Palm, let's say for a weekend, and you offer a program there. And the reason I thought about that was that if Vanderbilt is bringing the whole thing here, satellite campus, they must have done their demand analysis. So before they come, there might be an opportunity for us. So I'm thinking, like, can we just poach that before they even have it? So it's not technically poaching, but I thought there might be an opportunity there to do something before they even show up on the ground.
Yeah, good question, Uzma. I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, that was the allegedly $500 million site that the University of Florida had kind of tapped onto, and with the whole president situation with the former president, they abandoned that space and Vanderbilt took over. I don't know that nobody seems to know the real estate deals there, but the idea is that Vanderbilt will be coming, and business is one of the technology. I think some of the more technical STEM areas will be, and they're looking for like a full-fledged campus, like a satellite campus, so it's not just like an executive facility, but definitely business is one of those areas that they tapped onto. I mean, we're looking on that, Uzma, in terms of, whether it's something that we can offer. I mean, the answer is like we don't even offer a professional MBA yet. I mean, it was in hiatus. I mean, Harry can talk about that. There is some discussion now, with very recent one, to offer programs even in retail in downtown, which is kind of technically our very own backyard, kind of like 5 miles away from here, which we do not offer. Kind of talking about catering to working professionals. State Board to give us, we're discussing the details, but hopefully a year free or almost free to kind of try and see if we can offer programs like face-to-face in Brickell downtown area. And that's something that we'll be discussing with our new associate dean of marketing to, which programs would make sense to be offered there from a physical present perspective. And I mean, I don't know the answer to, shall we offer programs in West Palm Beach? So that's a good question. Blanca, go ahead, please.
So I'm not sure if they still have it, but FIU had kind of like a satellite place in Brickell. And also in the past, and Linda and John and Hattie could talk about this more, but we did offer programs in Palm Beach, Orlando, Tampa, the Bahamas. So we did have a full-fledged program in those places.
Yeah, well, okay, Blanca, actually, I mean, FIU has a whole building facility in Brickell. It was donated to the university, and they do offer business classes there as well. So they do have facilities. It was donated to them. Whatever it's worth. I'm somewhat familiar with those programs we used to offer, whether it's kind of more like the executive MBA space. So, I mean, of course, if you look at our numbers, even our Gemba program, the numbers don't look extremely strong. I think we're down to probably like 16, 17 students this year, and these are kind of a blended program, kind of here. So I don't know how, that's a good question. How much market there is in the executive MBA space? I mean, the answer is that yes, we should be looking at that and looking at the competition and I would say more opportunities than. I mean, there is competition. I mean, Babson and Northwestern, and so Northeastern and Northwestern, and offering different types of programs here, University of Florida. So I mean, definitely Miami is a big city. You're gonna have competition coming in here, and we need to just compete in that space as well. I mean, we need to enhance our marketing. We need to enhance our programming. It's across the board how we remain competitive and leveraging our existing brand name, our connections, alumni. I mean, obviously, as you know, Usman, it's big component of marketing and how we offer things and so forth. So yeah, all these are good questions, and that's something we need to be much more proactive as to what makes the most sense and what's what the market is looking for.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, absolutely, these are the right questions, and we have so many resources we can apply. We've got a lot of great initiatives. Obviously, you worry about somebody getting a foothold a little north of us and then trying to creep down. So, there's all sorts of calculations, and it's good we have someone that's looking at marketing and how we can sort of maybe prioritize some of these. But may you live in interesting times. Here we are. Other questions for Paul? Paul, do you need to keep the share of the screen, or can we stop?
I mean, I have. I mean, obviously, you want me to get into more details, I can. I mean, basically, this is for the board. I mean, I was planning to go in much faster there, but these are like some of the.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you had.
I mean, I mentioned some. I guess we have Alex here. They're will be taking over now, currently as director of undergraduate programs, and eventually, after he finishes his work in the faculty senate, will be taking over. I mean, Kevin Fong started as our inaugural associate dean of research. I cannot mention the name yet, but career industry engagement to help us with career services. Associate dean of marketing, starting in I guess November next week, November 4th. Mentioned the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning. I guess the center is a bit of a strong word there, but Lily Steiner wants to have something that focuses on innovation in teaching and learning. And then I mentioned the Global Strategic Initiative. So that's more like, giving some update on this step. So I mentioned the strategic plan that I guess you're quite familiar. These are the big questions that we have for for our strategic plan. Of course, I want to have everybody involved in different ways. Some of our marketing colleagues, Shalar and Claudia, are working on a survey for alumni, students, faculty staff, so that we get some more comprehensive feedback from our key stakeholders. And the idea is to engage as many people as possible, identify the areas of some of you are familiar with these great colleges. This is university one, how to become great colleges. So these are the 6 areas the university can put together. I don't think it's kind of groundbreaking. I mean, these are kind of the broader areas that we kind of need to do well. Renowned faculty, renowned school, our student population, the infrastructure, that's why the building is quite important. Student alumni outcomes, to have some distinctive research programs, some curricular innovations, and then the partnership, relationship, community, the industry engagement for us. So this is more like, I was quite surprised that it was only shared among deans, not among faculty staff. So this is kind of the 6 key areas that they're looking for to be a great school. And I guess we're trying to define it as part of a strategic plan for the business school. This is a summary of what we had done. I guess many of you attended the at-large committee. So this is some of the initial feedback that we got in terms of key ingredients, unique differentiators, and so forth. I guess our biggest next step, I think one of the key things we need to identify is some of these broader areas of strategic differentiation. What do we want to be known for? And I guess having conversation with the last piece I'd like to talk about is that most people will agree that we're a good school, very good school, solid school, whatever you're going to define it, but we're not known for anything in particular. And I don't know if you have something you're going to say, but this is something I think we need to identify those small number, whether it's 3, 5, 7 areas of that we want to be known for. And based on what we have already, based on what we think we can get to, maybe leveraging our location, leveraging anything we have out there. So anyway, that's kind of at least if we can finish this exercise and have a broader vision and some of these kind of priorities and areas of strategic differentiation, that will be something I think will help us get to the next level. So happy to have a conversation here. This is what I was trying to present to the advisory committee later today. So I'll stop here in the interest of time, and if you have any general questions or specific questions, happy to answer them, and happy to stop if you want to move with other businesses.
Paul, how did you come up with these 3 key ingredients for the vision?
Well, this is basically a summary. We used the strategic planning team that attended the different. I think we had 4 different groups during this at-large committee at-large committee meeting, and then basically they kind of came up with these kind of ideas. So I don't think Roger is here, but he was the person overseeing that effort. So it was. So this was the summary that they presented to us. So what was kind of the outcome of that day?
Because it just seems to me that there's nothing here that really stands out that would distinguish us from other schools.
I agree, Howie. I agree with you. This is basically, and of course, it was more like kind of an assessment exercise the first day. It wasn't like identifying areas of strategic differentiation. There is a meeting on the 1st of November next week with this smaller group, and actually this is kind of an open question to anybody here and broadly. I asked the same question to chairs. If there is interest in creating this, let's call it ideally interdisciplinary or some area of strategic differentiation, we'll be happy to hear about that. And we've been inviting either selectively or some areas that showed interest in promoting that. Somebody mentioned real estate, and they mentioned here as well. So I asked Steve to present kind of his vision for healthcare. It's a big area. It's one of the biggest industries in Miami. We have a presence already. We have a department. We have areas including your department, Howie, that does work in healthcare analytics, in healthcare technology. So I asked Steve. We asked Steve to present like a vision of how he thinks healthcare should take place, given what we have with the medical school, UHealth, the broader healthcare community in Miami and beyond, and so forth. The same, it was mentioned mentioned real estate. I asked Andrea Fusion to kind of give us a vision for real estate. She's been discussing with architecture, with engineering, with law, to do something bigger. There's a very, I would say, prestigious real estate board that we had a meeting earlier this week, and they showed interest in kind of taking the real estate program into the next level. And if you do the math, real estate in Miami is one of the probably the oldest market in the United States, even the world. So there is some definitely interest in real estate there as well. So whether it's like a more of a disciplinary, like real estate, I would say, within finance or kind of a unique industry, or broadly healthcare, or any other areas that make sense for us, whether it's AI, technology, supply chain, entrepreneurship, whatever we have already, or you think there is a market out there to make there is a possibility for us to make our mark, that's something that we'd like to hear from. Sustainability is another area that there was one of the areas of differentiation earlier, and so I asked Dave Kelly and Sylvia Carico to come up with some ideas as to how we can get into the next level. I think some of you, again, Uzma was part of that discussion. So the idea is like, okay, can we do something there? Yes, we have a master's degree, we have a minor, there is kind of a co-major opportunity. So again, given where we are, including this new Resilience Institute, what can we do on that space? So again, we're kind of in that early stage, I would say, based on what we have already, if there is interest among faculty to develop those areas, and along with some potential hiring in some areas, can we be well known in in a small areas out there?
Well, it just seems to me that we're departments, we're siloed, and just trying to. I think we have to think more out of the box. Like, for example, when I try and explain to students, and you and I have had this discussion. Okay, like, what's artificial intelligence? All right. Well, there's computer science, and then there's BTE, and then there's business analytics, and then there's all the application areas, finance, economics, marketing, etc. But I don't see any place that all that's pulled together.
Actually, I would like to see it coming together. And you asked me about AI because that's an area that I'm personally involved. I mean, I would see the application as being kind of our big advantage. If we can pull it off and say, we'd like to see this AI for all, AI everywhere, and I'd like to see the applications in all the areas and more that you mentioned. And we can collaborate with the computer science. Actually, we had a nice meeting with computer science the previous week, and they came here and they presented several areas, including in AI. Actually, in healthcare, they actually have a pretty strong group that they would like to collaborate with us. So I'd like to bring it up to you and and Steve in healthcare, and see how we can collaborate. And then more broadly, we have already in this broader space the DERPA, which is the the analytics and technically within the management science department. We have the within BT the intelligent systems that is already existing for the last 38 years. So at least if you ask me at this point, I mean, I don't know the exact answer, but I'm envisioning bringing everything together and say you want to be known in this space. I wouldn't call it AI because it's such a generic, overused term. Come up with something that's more specific to us, but make it kind of with the application areas in finance, in accounting, in marketing, and say, okay, this is an area that I think is very practically relevant because we should be teaching students to use AI no matter where they are, and utilizing our expertise in certain areas to focus on applications, including healthcare, including, I would say, everywhere. So that's what I'm thinking, like how we can and be known for something that's actually unique, it's interesting. We formed two partnerships already, one with Intel, that we signed an agreement to use a lot of materials and data and so forth. So Ronnie Shear has taken the lead kind of on the non-degree side, but should be reaching to all faculty to use some materials and use cases from Intel. Google, we had a meeting earlier this week, and they're also interested in sharing a lot of materials on the cloud and AI and so forth. So we can leverage that. I mean, there have the exact vision, and that's something for us to develop in a way that is, will actually differentiate us.
Paul, if I may, I'm a little bit confused here. So it's one thing to say what are these unique areas that we can leverage, let's say healthcare, AI, real estate, whatever that may be, versus saying what is our unique differentiator as a school at large. So one is a branding question to me, the other is a new market development kind of an issue. So they seem a little bit different. And the way I think of a unique differentiator is if we have a graduate coming out of UM, what do people think? And that should apply across the board. That what is this person going to be really good at? So let's say, I'm going to just, let's say, pick a school that if someone's coming out of, the graduate's coming out of MIT, no matter which program, people would think this person is going to be technically, analytically very good. Right? That's an impression that they have crafted out. No matter if you're coming out of fine arts, people would think you're going to be a techie. That's MIT for you. Stanford, on the other hand, they have crafted this thing out that no matter what specialization you're coming out of, you're going to be very entrepreneurial. You're going to break the market. You're going to have some kind of a startup bench to you. And when I think of saying what is our unique differentiator, I think of it at that level, rather than saying what unique programs we can start, because we can start all these unique programs and they're not going to give us a holistic unique differentiator. So which level do you, or maybe you want us to think about it at both these levels?
Well, I think it's both levels, Uzma. And both are good points in terms of there is some kind of a overall brand, which is more like what our students, our graduates, and if you want to talk to companies and say, this is what our students in general, is a kind of examples you gave would be good ones at that level. That's one aspect, and say areas of strategic differentiation from a research and kind of a unique programs, highly ranked programs, is kind of another thing. And the two things can be related to a large distinct. For example, if I take your example, like MIT is great research-wise in technical areas, and therefore their students becoming analytically, well prepared, and they can take very strong technical jobs, even from a business perspective. That's something that is, they're consistent with each other. So yeah, that would be an idea to say these are the areas that we're good at, and then accordingly our graduates, have those skills. Yeah, if we can actually, pull it off and say this is what, and I can give you an example and say, well, in this broader, and I want to be inclusive of everybody. Say, okay, in this AI space across the entire, curriculum, students who graduate from, Miami Herbert, because across all departments, even the less technical ones, they are preparing them for, to know how to use AI. So if they graduate from here, they are actually, they know how to use AI. That's a bad example just on top of my head, but if you say that in marketing, in management, in healthcare, everybody across the curriculum, we embed it intelligently, so our graduates, no matter what, come prepared with that. That could be something that could be, quite, specific to that. Again, the question is that, can we do it? Do we want to do it? And it will be valuable to the market. So, in other words, we want to prepare students who have particular expertise. So, that's a good question. I don't have the exact answer, and of course, I'd rather have us collectively figure it out and be willing to do that. Because I can say that, yes, that's the future, and let's all train AI, but then if you are here and willing to do that in your departments and classes and everything, it would be like a futile effort, as you know very well. So anyway, that's kind of part of what we are trying to achieve here. If you ask me, you can assess this. I wasn't very impressed with what we have come. They're not incorrect things, they're good things, but yes, we should push ourselves to the next level and to what we want to be known for. These are kind of a good ingredients, and I think it was a kind of a sober assessment as to where we are, but there was nothing there very, as Howie said, and you said, there's nothing groundbreaking there. Of course, at some point, the strategy is about making decisions and choices, so we have to say, what do we want to do? So in that sense, not everybody will be extremely happy, but at least hopefully everybody will feel that I can contribute to what we come up. Ideally, I'd like to see something that's multidisciplinary, that okay, when we focus on AI, it's not going to be the BT department, taking all the people and becoming a technical AI design. It will be across the board to say that whether in law, whether in management, in marketing, we're actually investing in that to be marketing AI, healthcare AI. So we'll be getting people who are, adept to those areas, and they will, embed them. I don't know. I mean, that's something that, I don't want to go to the, follow the bandwagon of the bus and say we need to be in this AI space no matter what. So that's why I want to just, talk about all these opportunities and have us collectively figure out what makes the most sense.
Well, I'd just like to add one thing. I feel our ideas for what we can be unique at are two-dimensional. I think they need to be 3 or 4 dimensional. For example, AI, I'll just pick my own area, AI in healthcare, but they know how to improve the healthcare, they know how to improve the process while they're doing it. So I think we need to be more 3-dimensional, or 4-dimensional, and that would distinguish us in just one particular area with a small group of faculty. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I think this just shows the excitement that we have for this opportunity. These strategic workshops tend to start broadly, and then the working groups and the committees tend to take these deeper dives, and this can flesh out some of the what's called topography or the dimensionality that we can go with this. So I think this is really exciting in particular. And Paul, thank you for this very detailed overview of these initiatives. It gets back to what I was saying at the beginning. There's just a lot of excitement on campus for homecoming, and it's not just for the football team. And we really appreciate your openness to getting as many people involved. So,
absolutely. Thank you very much. And basically, the idea is to get everybody on the same page. Whatever I talk to any. I mean, obviously, you cannot have all 200 people coming in every single meeting, and so the idea is to kind of get the and of course, always open to ideas, whether from this body or individually. Any of you have ideas and suggestions, always happy to discuss them. And honestly, I don't want to say that this is, when I say strategic planning, is that, we need to come up with something that is aspirational, it hopefully includes everybody as much as possible, connect with alumni, connecting with industry partners. I know it's, impossible to get it perfectly right. But at the same time, I'd like to say that, this is a continuously evolving discussion. And, if someone comes tomorrow and gives us 25 million to have a center in something, priorities change and shift. And then if there's a recession next year, and with other opportunity challenges, we need to adjust and be nimble on that front. So anyway, that's kind of the idea, is that we put something that makes sense now with the understanding that, the world changes, and, hopefully we're not going to have a pandemic. Like in my previous institution, as soon as we put together the plan, a pandemic hit. So it was kind of an interesting exercise. It got to kind of, flip things very quickly. But anyway, these things happen. But anyway, you have my full commitment that, sharing everything I know and everything I'm thinking about. And so, happy to get your ideas, thoughts. It's an evolving and continuous discussion here.
Thanks again, Paul. Sorry, my dog's barking, but at this point, we'll turn it over to Linda Nider, who's going to talk about some of the initiatives and things that are happening at the Faculty Center. Linda, please.
Good morning, everyone, and I'll try to be very brief. I realize we spent a lot of time already. So 4 brief items from the Senate. 1, the Academic Standards Committee recommended that we eliminate test optional, and this was approved unanimously by GWC. It's going before the Senate next week. I don't anticipate any problems. So for the incoming class starting in fall 2026, we will be back to using SATs and ACTs. This is very good news for those of you teaching quantitative students. All right, second, I've talked about the faculty salary analysis last time that we met. It has moved on. The benchmark study with AAU schools is finished. Again, we need to thank Alex Horenstein because he chaired this committee. And Joe, our new president, was very, very supportive of this initiative. So one of the things that's going to happen are across the board increases. The idea is no one should be left behind. They're currently working out the actual percentages, but obviously that requires board approval and budget alignment, but that's something that will be happening. Some of the schools will also need market adjustments, and so those are something that will also happen down the road. But that's very good news for all of us. Third, the Senate is beginning its review of deans and chairs. So for our school, we have 3 chairs that are going to be reviewed this year: economics, marketing, and MAS. Please encourage your faculty to take part in these reviews. They are totally anonymous, totally anonymous. I recuse myself from all business school reviews. I won't have any input or contact into those review processes at all. But it is extremely important that your faculty participate. They will be seen by the provost, the interim provost. Obviously there will be a summary that the dean receives and the chair receives. And given what our new president is like, I suspect he's going to want to look closely at some of these as well. So please make sure they take part. And then finally, there is going to be a lot of pressure right now from the Senate to immediately begin a provost search. We have a non-traditional president. It was unanimous at every level to support Joe as our next president. But faculty really want a highly academic, renowned academic to take over the provost role. So it will be an external search. The way that search typically begins, once the president starts the process, is that the GWC will submit 15 names of faculty to the president. He'll choose 10 of those. He'll supplement those names with others, and that will form the actual search committee. When candidates start coming in, they'll be interviewed by lots of people, but the GWC is kind of the final body, and our interview results will be given directly to the president. So it should be a highly participative process, and I can tell you that people are extremely committed to finding a very good provost for us. So hopefully that will begin shortly. And that's all I have to say, John, unless there are any questions at all.
Questions for Linda?
Linda, very, very, very quickly. And this is not a new thing. This has been discussed in our department many, many times. When people do these surveys, and in school council, we adopted this practice as well, that when we ask the faculty to provide their feedback, for example, we do these dean surveys, we have an obligation to give back some feedback to people who provide these assessments. Is there a way to, and again, it's a summary thing, for these for people who participate in these surveys to get some feedback as to what was the outcome of these surveys? Not just the final outcome of retention or not, but like what things came up as good or areas of improvement.
Well, as you know, it's mandated by the faculty manual that when the surveys are done and the results go to the department chair, the dean, provost, the president, probably in this case, there has to be a meeting set up between the dean and the voting faculty in the department. And that meeting is for the dean to describe the results. It is attended not only by the dean, but also a member of the GWC. If you ask the GWC for the results of the vote, they will give you the results of the vote. A lot of times, that's not a question that's asked. You can certainly ask that question. You can't see the summary itself that obviously gets passed around. It's a very, it's similar to the type of summaries you do. It's sanitized because we want to make sure that absolutely no one can be identified based on our summary of the comments particularly. But they will certainly, the dean is obligated to talk about what the results indicate, And the GWC member is there to write a report about whether or not the dean was transparent.
So I can communicate that in an email encouraging my faculty to just, provide the feedback, and this would be the process.
Absolutely. It's a really important process, as you know.
Thank you.
Sarah?
I was at a number of these meetings with the GWC and the dean, and Linda, I just wanted to point out a previous dean didn't basically get the flavor of the summary of the survey, and the GWC representative, I was quite pleased, said, well, you missed a couple of points. And they interjected, and I thought that was really good because one of the deans, I guess, wanted to sugarcoat what was the survey, and that GW said, wait a minute, and he said it quite politely, you missed a few points. And I think that was good that the GWC also comes. It's just not the dean giving the survey. So I commend you for setting up that process.
It was set up when I was Senate chair because
Right.
we had problems in the past, where the GWC members felt they should just sit there and not
Right.
say anything. And we had an evaluation of our dean in the past where the GWC member who was there was furious about the way the provost summarized the results.
Yeah.
And in the meeting, he went back to the Senate and he said, this was really not fair. It was not an accurate summary.
Right.
So at that point, we started talking about the fact that GWC members represent the faculty. And we owe our faculty transparency in these decisions.
Linda, the other thing that you may want to say so that they know is in that meeting with the dean, the voting faculty and the GWC attend, but the chair does not attend that meeting.
Chair cannot be there. And just as when we only have one dean that we're evaluating this year, but during that feedback session, the dean will not be there. The provost will be there. And obviously GWC members will be there and all the voting faculty, but not the dean.
Linda, when they summarize the data, do they look at the non-response rate? Like
Yes.
I know in our department, we once had only 2 people responded, and that's kind of getting summarized back at. So is that taken into account at all, or?
No, and that's a problem. So that's why we really want to encourage you to make sure all of your voting faculty respond. We do have some very small departments in the university, and so what we do in those cases is we send GWC members to interview the faculty. They don't fill out surveys. They're interviewed, and then they summarize the results of the interviews.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Linda? Okay, I'm not sure if you saw it in the chat, but DJ had to leave. Paul did cover the area he was going to talk about, so we will just go to our next agenda item, which is Hari's report.
Hi, John. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'll be very, very brief. I just wanted to say that our round 1 for fall 2025 applications actually ended on October 15th. We got a nice bump from last year. We have about 100 more applications than we received last year, so that's encouraging news. It's still very early for us to know what that means, but it's at least on the positive side. I just want to also remind everyone that we have a homecoming happy hour at 5 o'clock. We have 394 alumni who've RSVP'd, which means at least 150 will actually show up. So please be there. I think they'll really enjoy meeting with our faculty. And then we have our barbecue at 6. Blanca, both are at the Finkel-Frankel Promenade, right? Sorry guys, I should have known this.
Cesarano,
sorry. Yes, Cesarano. It's all around our building. So please do stop by. Thanks guys. Happy to take any questions if you have any.
Questions for Hari? Okay, hope to see some of you at the homecoming events. Thanks, Hari. All right, so we can get to our agenda items. Is Anne here, or who is presenting anything on these proposals for the undergraduate minor in business law?
I couldn't be here, but I can present on them.
Okay, fantastic. Alyssa, do you want to do both together, 7 and 8 separately? How would you like to proceed?
I think it makes sense to do both together, and I'll take a page out of everybody else's book that just went and be as brief as possible. So this resulted in that we were doing a comparative search of our minor along with other minors in the business school and other minors outside of the business school, and we realized we were somewhat deficient in the sense that our minor was only 12 credits, and in fact only 3 classes more than our core offering in the department, which is the 212 for business students, Introduction to Business Law and Ethics. And then to minor in business law, you only needed 3 more courses. For our I'm doing both agenda items together. For non-business students, this is the 202 course, which is an introduction to the legal environment in business, and then they only also had to have 3 courses. As we looked at, every other minor in our school has an additional either 4 courses or in some instances 5 courses because they have 2 offerings in the core curriculum. And so we're just looking to make our minor as robust, both for business students and students outside the business school. We also did a survey of other minors in arts and sciences, where most of our students come from, and other schools, and they are also in the 15 credit or more range. So we are just looking to bring up our minor on par with all other minors in the school and outside. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer those.
Questions for Alyssa? Okay, and we did get the materials in front. So Alyssa, please extend our thanks to all the people in your department and the staff that's worked on this. These reviews are kind of necessary, and we all know there's inertia. Once something's there, it kind of tends to stay. So this freshening is an important process that often gets overlooked.
Perfect. Oh, and I'm glad we already got UBEC approval on it.
Well, UBEC reviewed it.
Right, sorry.
That's the way we, right. Okay, thank you.
I have a more generic question, Jen. How did business law have 12 and all the other programs have more? Is there a minimum bar for a minor, and that's just what business law is at, or did it change and business law didn't change, or like what's?
I think our review, at least Chris, showed it was more the latter. Other minors got revamped over time, and we had just not done the same.
Okay, gotcha.
Other questions on these items, 7 and 8? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, so we can move now to the last item on our agenda. This is the proposal it's not the last item, sorry. But the proposal to establish the part-time MSBA program. Lan, there you are. Hi. Okay, great. So Lan, if you want to take over and discuss this, please. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good morning. I'll keep it brief. This is similar to what Maria presented for the leadership program in last school council meeting. The MSBA program currently is a full-time, 10 months, quite intensive program. In the past, we have always had a few professional students every year. When they approach the program directors, they always customize the curriculum, the study plan, so that those students can finish their degree in an extended time. What we propose is to formally establish a part-time professional track within the MSBA program, allowing an extended time up to 21 months for professional students. We believe this will be appealing to professional students within the university and outside university from local industry. Some of us already know our IT services executive directors, Steve, and several of employees from IT services. They finish our program part-time. So what we propose is to officially have this track along with the finance program. They already have a part-time track, and recently the leadership program proposed something very similar. So what we propose is along this line. I'd be very happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Len?
5 minutes. He spoke for 45 minutes.
Okay, Len, I also want to thank you and your department members. I think what we're seeing here is a lot of effort to increase the flexibility for our students, to provide better, to give them options, and better meet those market needs. So thanks to you and your department for this proposal.
Thank you, John. I want to definitely thank Harry. So he provided lots of great advices for us to refresh our program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have item number 10, which is the proposal to establish the Berkowitz Center for Accounting and Education. You may be somewhat familiar with this because we did an informal review previously to just provide feedback, especially since centers don't typically go through UBEC or GBEC. This was a way to provide some feedback. I believe, Mark, you're going to present on this. I just want to thank Mark and his colleagues in his department, also the school council reps who gave some feedback on this, and Linda Nider and others and the staff that's worked for this really substantially revised and robust proposal. Mark, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, John. I don't have a lot prepared necessarily that I'm going to say. I'm happy to answer any questions. The proposal that we submitted, as John said, is fairly substantially revised relative to what we had presented the last time. We got some feedback and added quite a few things in regarding the mission of the center, details on the affiliated faculty, what the roles and governance of the various faculty that associated with the center would be. We provided details on the budget, which was prepared by development and the university. We had that. We included that now in the proposal. And as John said, he and Linda were very helpful in meeting with us a couple times and putting us in touch with some other people that we could discuss at the university that were familiar with this process. Linda got us a few more example proposals, and we've tried to model those very closely on some more recent centers that have been approved in the university and other areas outside of the business school. So I think we've modeled those fairly well in what we have here. Linda also put us in touch with Allie Moser at the Provost's office. She has reviewed the proposal, and she's familiar with the process through which other centers have been approved and the faculty senate needs for a proposal, and so she's confirmed that she thinks we're in good shape as far as the details that we have on the proposal there now. And so, yeah, we're excited to move this forward. Get the approval here, and then we'll try to take it to the Senate shortly. We have a meeting in just a few weeks with another meeting with the donor. The dean's going to meet Richard Berkowitz, who's we're discussing the center with, and yeah, I think things should be moving forward pretty well in the next month or two on this.
Questions for Mark? Mark, it might be worth mentioning that, well, things are going very well and moving forward with the donor, where you're seeking approval today. So this would be approval and the naming. And one of the things we have discussed is to try to create as great flexibility as possible. There's always this sort of concern to name something after someone who hasn't, all the T's haven't been crossed and the I's been dotted. So I think there is a footnote in there that right. So just so people know, the proposal is to seek approval for the center, which is expected to be named the Berkowitz Center upon the funding. So that kind of can clear up an issue of anyone perceiving potentially the cart before the horse in terms of this kind of.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. That was an important issue. We're a little bit, it's kind of a chicken and the egg problem that we're facing here, and one of the things that we thought would help us, move things along with the donor, and he's very interested in the, nuances in the governance of how the center is structured and what its relationship is with the university and what its relationship is with the other departments within the school. And he was very interested in being involved in understanding those, subtleties of the process. So one of the things that we thought would help us, and he agreed, is to kind of get the structure or the bones of the center outlined and approved, so he would have a better understanding of what he was, the entity to which his gift would be given. And so that's why we're kind of in this, situation where we need a center and structure and form, but yet, of course, as John mentioned, until things that are well beyond my capacity, the development office and the university to sort out, until those things can be sorted out, of course, we won't, have it formally named as it's titled on the proposal, but would just approve the general structure and then handle the naming and that sort of thing once the university sorts out the final agreement.
Yeah, it's always sort of an interesting process how these things go forward and where donors get involved and things happen. There are people doing a lot of the nuts and bolts, and then things are occurring 10,000 feet above, so to speak. But I think there's a couple of things to be said here. One is that I think the approach, if I can speak for my fellow council reps, the approach is to give the flexibility so that these things can move forward. We don't want things to get bogged down. We want to make sure that we're not interfering in any way of these and we recognize that these are delicate negotiations. The other thing I didn't say before is, in some ways, this sort of proposal, is a bit of an exemplar in terms of potentially tapping in to matching funds from Patty and Alan Herbert, to leveraging things, and also helping to pave the way with the kind of template exemplar, because the Faculty Senate is very interested in what's happening and the sort of standard levels of donation and various things along those lines. So I think all of us recognize there's a lot of complicated things in the work. One of us is our work to help the proposal go forward as best it can, but to ensure that flexibility is really in the spirit of the school council. We have a job to do. We recognize things are complex, and to the extent we can make things as flexible as possible so they can go forward, that's going to be good. And hopefully we'll see other such initiatives that can take advantage of other matching funds and, just again, part of these great initiatives that are coming forward to really move our school. So, thanks to you.
Thanks, John. Yep.
Yeah, and then one thing, Mark, I'll respond to your email about the details there. So let's have I'm already in touch with Josh and Casey to figure out this.
Okay,
and
thank you.
I also have I don't know how much detail on we can discuss offline the details, but on the endowment, I talked to the endowment, person who, came with I don't know how much detail on the returns that we need to have, but the returns are not terrible. They're like close to 10% the last 10 years, so it's not a bad return for a kind of conservative fund. So anyway, the other ones I'll try to get the exact answers, but looking forward to the meeting with Rich.
Great. Thanks, Paul.
Any other questions or comments from Mark? Okay, Mark, thank you for your work on this. Thank you to your department, colleagues, and your staff as well. Okay, so I think at this point, unless there is matters from the floor, we're ready to go to executive session. Any matters from the floor?
I guess, John, one thing that they will be coming, and Harry and I guess Alex will be leading that effort on both sides. But I had a conversation with Patty Murphy. That was kind of my initial meeting, and I talked about this whole idea of this lack of flexibility at the university level to allow us to offer, let's call it the format to vary in terms of, let's say, face-to-face, online, hybrid, and for every single program you have to get approval for changing the modality. And she said the best way to move forward with that one, at least as far as the university is concerned, is to do I call it an omnibus across the board that all of your programs can be offered in whatever modality you want. And then basically, as far as she's concerned, the only thing from a SACS accreditation perspective is to say there's a notification that sends all of our programs, and you can do an omnibus says all of our programs will be offered in these three modalities that the rules specify. Online, of course, face-to-face for most of them, but not all of them. And then the blended, and that blended hybrid covers everything in between. So that was his suggestion, is that if you do that, and we say, like, and I think Harry put together a whole list of all of our majors, minors, certificates, graduate, undergraduate, across the board. And so as far as kind of she is concerned, and she promised to help us navigate it through the university, but basically just said, well, of course, also figure it out with, your internal structures, and she couldn't help me that much on that front. So anyway, I mean, that was kind of dovetail into what I mentioned earlier, that we need to be much more flexible, creative in terms of how we offer courses online. Summer, working professionals be able to, for example, one discussion that it will come up one way or the other, the professional MBA is not doing very well. We like to have it in a much more flexible, convenient, blended fashion if we want to be competitive, even all the competition from around us. So anyway, so basically, I'm not sure exactly how to do that, and but if we can create some kind of kind of approval that says all of our programs, can be offered in this, all these different formats. And then, of course, it depends. It's up to us. There's no obligation whatsoever to offer anything at any format, and it's going to be, our strategic marketing decision to do that. So anyway, I'll stop here. That's something that we're kind of figuring out what's the best way to kind of, develop it for the university. But I just want to get your initial thoughts, how it's going to work here. I don't know, it has to be undergraduate, graduate, because they have, both formats. But then she mentioned some things that cannot create problems for us. She said, well, if students, if they're working on an internship, or, they're abroad, they cannot take fully online courses because we're not equipped for online. So it affects our students, even undergraduate students, because they cannot take online if they're in Europe doing a study abroad. Anyway, she was getting to some details. I said, but that creates a lot of problems for us. So I mentioned the global initiatives. So if we're going to do some global partnership, we have to be very flexible. We cannot tell people you have to come to Miami to take face-to-face classes, because that's the only format we offer in any program. So anyway, it provides a lot of flexibility for us, and then we can selectively decide, if we want to offer a certain program in whatever format. But I think that allowing that flexibility should be very, valuable to us as a school.
Yeah. So may I propose, John, that I share some initial ideas with you guys on this, and maybe you can offer some feedback to me on what would be okay. So it's not the way we are thinking about it for the rest of the council members is, for us to change one modality, it takes 1 year right now, because not only school council, it has to go through the rest of the governance, right? So if we can get the rest of the steps approved, the university steps approved on this basis of an omnibus update, and then keep the school council steps alone, which is really a 1-month process between GBEC or UBEC and then coming to school council, then that would shorten the clock and make us more nimble with respect to reacting to the market, right? So I'll propose some language for you guys to review. I'd like to present this as an actual proposal in the next school council meeting. So if you guys can help me do this and craft something that makes sense for the school council, as well as allow us to react quickly, that would be very, very useful. I don't know how to do it in Kim and all that stuff, so I'm working with Margie and Patty Murphy, because this is not something we've done previously. So I'll get on that side. But if you guys can help with the language, I think that'd be very useful for me.
Great. Thanks for that, Paul and Hari. I think it's very exciting. We've been talking quite a bit about increasing the flexibility for our students, and the notion that there would be flexibility on the part of the governing entities to help us with our flexibility sounds internally logical and consistent, but that doesn't always happen. So I'm very encouraged to hear Patty Murphy is on board with this, and this could save us a lot of time. And what it does too, I believe, is it will put us back in our court, where we can use GBEC, UBEC, and the council to make decisions about what we need to do questions? Okay. All right. Fantastic. Any other matters for the floor? Or we're good? So we'll look forward to this proposal for the next meeting. And thank you both. And we'll move to our executive session to just finish our business. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everyone. See you this afternoon.
See you later. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Tim, I'm not sure if you're there, or Blanca, maybe you have to, maybe you have to bounce Tim. He might have stepped away. Oh, also, could you shut off the recording, please?
Recording stopped.
Great, thank you. Would it be okay to take like exactly a 5-minute break and then come back? Is that okay? All right, so let's be back at 10:55 Eastern Time. Okay, great. is 10:55. I don't know if everybody's back. Howie, George, Chris. Okay. All right. So we can go through these items. We don't have a lot in terms of what was on the agenda. So the first is the 78, proposals to modify the minor in business law. First, we'll take a motion to approve this and then have any additional discussion. Is there a motion? Sarah? Uzma seconded. Okay. Discussion or questions on this? Seems pretty straightforward. All right, so all those in favor of approving items 7 and 8? Uzma? Chris? You guys voting on that? Okay, just so I want to be able to see it, so we're there. And Blanca, are you able to record these? You not record, but to track. They've both been approved. You're still on mute.
Trying to behave. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we'll go to, and I apologize, I've been having this cough that's really been an issue. Proposal, or item number 9, the proposal to establish the part-time MSBA. Again, as Lan mentioned, this is pretty similar to what Marie Gasborough presented for the leadership program. Can I get a motion to approve this, and then we'll have the discussion? Uzma, Alyssa, okay, seconded. Further discussion on this item? Okay.
I just have a point. Is this going to be? Is this going to be in person? Was this going to be online?
I believe this is in person, but as the dean and Hari mentioned,
So they can switch over later on.
If it's not there now, this omnibus proposal will certainly.
Because it seems like that would fit even like a hybrid if it's doing for professionals.
Right. So I think part of it is a modality change is substantially different than something like this. So since we've already had these initiatives getting ready to go forward for the governance process through, we'll, the omnibus or proposal will give us the potential for the department and the school to consider the efficiencies of that.
Okay.
But for right now, it's just to establish a formal part-time program for this program, the way it is.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? All those in favor? Okay, looks good. And then we have the proposal to establish the Center for Accounting Research and Education, which will be named the Berkowitz Center upon the proper funding and such going through. A proposal to approve this, and then we can have our discussion. Uzma, EDG. Okay, we've got our motion. Further discussion on this item.
I know a little bit about it. I know Mark and Seb have been driving force, but they involved me just in case.
Yeah. Look, they've really improved the program. We mentioned our concerns, and initially it was like, centers get approved more easily. There was not that, but that view faded, and what's now is the new reality of with the faculty senate getting involved, donation levels, and these things. I think this, as I said before, it's a really great proposal. It's tapping into not only a donor, but matching funds.
Yeah, that matching. And I think that's something Paul wants to really, obviously we have to find the donors to do that, but we got the money there, so we don't want to waste it.
It's there, and let's having money just sit there unutilized is one thing, but this again, I appreciate the effort of the people in your department and others to have this proposal. So, other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so that's good news, which we'll relay to them. And the last part of this, I really want to thank Blanca. We've been working on an effort. We record our meetings, but there's an effort to just get minutes, and we just need rudimentary sort of templates that indicate some of the outcomes of this that can more easily be shared, so people don't have to read through everything, or or sit there and view the entire recorded meeting. And also our votes are in executive session, so we need minutes to go forward with that. Have people had a chance to look at these? Are there some comments about the format? Are you okay with this? Thoughts, comments?
I thought they seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's just simplicity. We don't need to get into a lot of details.
Yeah.
I agree.
So, we have several of these there. Can we take these all in one bulk, or was there any particular minutes that people thought should be changed, or was that Sarah? Did you say all together?
Well, I didn't read all of them. I just read, I think 2, just to get a sense of, and they seem to follow a pretty consistent pattern and all that. So I thought that's what we were really looking for. But I haven't read all of them.
Okay.
And I think the idea will be that next meeting we'll have the minutes from this meeting where they're fresher and we can go forward. But look, for our sake, for the school's sake, again, my apologies. If we can get, have a web page where we've got our minutes, we've got the links to the recordings. This is just a more professional way of doing things and presenting. And I think we're a very legitimate body, but these are ways to, cross the T's and dot the I's to ensure that we have full legitimacy about a lot of this stuff.
I'm not sure. Do we want to have links to the meetings on a website? That seems a little excessive.
Uzma, it will be an intro. It's like
okay.
login. But then the other thing that I wanted to say, in the spirit, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Why don't we give you time to read them? They're very short. If you have changes, send them back. I'll edit them and send them back to you guys.
So sorry. I won't even know what to, because I'm assuming we're not checking them for accuracy, because my memory is definitely less accurate than what you have there. So I won't be able to check for that. So that's why I read, I think I read 3 of them. Format and the level of details, and I thought that was good, because I don't even know what to correct or not correct. I'm assuming that whatever is in there is factual representation of what we discussed, because to be honest, I can't remember. And that's why these minutes are there to begin with, right? So I'm happy to look at it, but I'm not sure what to look for.
So, given the 2 comments, may I make this suggestion? How about if we vote to conditionally approve these with the understanding that if people haven't yet fully detailed and looked at them, collectively we may have a memory. I'm with you. If I can remember how to get home, sometimes I count that as a victory. But collectively, if anyone sees the problem with this, to send it to Blanca for some revision, and we'll adjust that for the next meeting. And we should have another batch coming. Again, my apologies. We weren't doing this historically, and with Robert's Rules of Orders, I should have known about this, but I want to make sure that we get this cleaned up as we go forward. So would that be, go ahead.
Minutes need to be approved? Sorry, the minute. Okay.
So these are drafts. These are unapproved minutes. They're drafts. And then you do a process where any sort of amendments or changes, and that gets put into the motion to approve, and then a motion to approve, then they become the approved minutes, and that's the record.
I see. So technically the process should be that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting at the next meeting.
Right. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
But mea culpa. We weren't doing this before I came in, and we weren't doing this while the first years that I was doing this, but with Blanca's help, we want to clean this up and get that. So we do have a batch in front of us.
When they told me I had to go back for years, I went into what? With all the level of work?
Yeah, no. It seems quite, to me, honestly, it seems wasted effort now, given that we have these recordings already. So if there's ever an issue, you have the recordings, one can look at it.
I think the issue is that we need the votes of how we voted on items, and that's not part of the vote.
Yeah, we would inform the person that made the proposal and the chairman and
Yeah, so what we're looking for is not, that's why I'm like, I think the amount of detail is fine because we just want to see what was approved,
Yes.
what wasn't approved, and that's about it.
Right, so it basically is recording any modifications, approvals, or tabling or rejections by the East in our executive session.
So
That's
in
what
that case, may I suggest something? Because again, I may not necessarily remember what we approved, what we didn't approve. So that is sort of Blanca's, I trust her completely. So if maybe, the chair and the second chair can just check that those things are fine, and then we can just give you a proxy approval that yes, that's approved. If you say that.
what we're also looking for is not as much as if it was approved or not approved, because clearly we have it in the notes. And
no, I'm not sure what we need, but so we just approve now. We don't need to look at things, right?
But sometimes they have grammatical changes, things like that I might have rephrased it in not the right, correct way, which I try not to, but I do make mistakes.
Yeah.
Blanca, how many times in the last 20 meetings have you made a change because of something somebody said to you?
No, not really.
And not a type of.
So in other words, it's a completely unnecessary inspection.
Yeah, I suggest we just approve them. We trust you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? I think okay, seconded. All those in favor? No. Okay.
There are some typos, but I can flag those.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
And then the process going forward will be that we'll have minutes from this executive session that we will address going forward. Okay? Other, Uzma, were you voting or?
No, sorry. I think what has happened is every time I raise my hand, it's.
So there's a.
I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to.
Your camera recognizes the gesture.
Yeah, it raises my hands. It gives these thumbs up, and I'm like, I have no idea how to turn this thing off.
So you can do
This is
that
a
without having
virtual
to press the button.
reality sort of interface.
Yeah, this is what they mean that this artificial intelligence is going to take over us. Like, so no hands, nothing.
Okay, and then just more generally, before we finish, are there any sort of concerns or any other issues with what's been brought up or other things that are going on that you guys know about? The one thing that is sort of on the horizon, and Brian Barrett and Shirley Dennis have done some very good work with this, trying to create a syllabus or a template for the syllabus. But this thing is really running into a little bit of issues because the faculty senate is very concerned because faculty need discretion to do certain things. You want to put a good homogenized statement about holiday policies or some of these other things, but it seems to be taking on a life of its own where they're trying to make some statements about pedagogy and getting into standardization on some of that, which is just incredibly difficult to do across a university, even within departments, maybe even within courses. So I think this was a kind of interesting initiative to try to do some of this, but rather than trying to come up with agreement about what are the things that could possibly be standardized, rather than trying to standardize everything, I think it's gotten a little out of hand. So just know that this is going to be something that's going on. I just want to kind of get a general sense. In that sense, would we be more interested as a council to give us a list of the areas that you think could be homogenized, like, the holidays or, calendars or something, and then, maybe identify some draft language, but to try to get approval for a massive set of, in one shot, a massive set of things, it just seems to have gotten a little out of hand. That's my take.
John, my experience has been this is always a back and forth, and it's getting reinvented. Personally, I don't like policing the faculty. It's their class, whatever they want to do. I understand that certain policies might be swapped around, like what holidays and whatnot, and that can always come from the school. Like, I can't ask people to show up on Christmas or Thanksgiving, right? So I think some or like we have policies now for Hanukkah and all that, but I don't like to interfere personally too much with what faculty said. Like, one of the things was that we have this no digital devices policy across the school. No, I want to tell them, use your whatever you want to use. You want to bring your TV, bring your TVs. I don't care. If I can't command attention for 2 hours, that's on me. So I feel that I don't know. Personally, I'm not in favor of telling faculty what to do, what not to do. If something's not working, it will show up in their evaluations. It will get flagged. It's I believe in free market when it comes to that.
So, just one experience I had this year that kind of made me sort of like that I feel like maybe we need some guidance with what to include, had to do with exceptions for religious reasons. So my policy has, and it's a stated policy of the university, that they need to tell us 3 days after school starts if they need an exception. And my policy has always been, sure, but you can take the exam before everybody else, because it's just not fair to take it after.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out some of our colleagues in the business school are allowing students to take them after. So then I was put on a very bad sort of situation where the student even knew when was the deadline for the grades and was requesting to take the exam on that particular day due to like religious exception. And it has become a little bit of like a humongous headache for me, because I had various students that followed the rules and someone did not want to follow the rules, and it became something that I didn't want to be involved with. And then I realized I had the language, but it wasn't perfectly perfect. So then when Brian told us about this, I sort of voted yes, because I kind of want to know what are all the rules and regulations that I need to include in my syllabus to protect me and the good student, to ensure when something is off coming up, I am not like exposed. But by the same token, I don't want something that tells me do not include cell phone. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. But I kind of want to have, okay, George, these are the 10 rules you need to include. I kind of want to know that. And
George,
that's kind of where I am with that.
I'm exactly like you. I'll allow them to take an exam because, and this happened to me this time too, and I told them, no, you will not take it after, you can take it before, and I will work with you, and that is totally your prerogative. So I don't know if someone decides to say, yeah, you can take it after, you can, and I have been in situations where I have given students that, okay, they can take an exam even after I've submitted grades, because I realize that I'll give them an incomplete, because there have been situations in the past where I've done that I'll give you an incomplete. You can take, it's not going to affect your grade or anything, I'll give you, but I don't know if those things can be, this is complete faculty prerogative.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the details because this is like a highly sensitive like matter that arose. I just kind of wanted to point out the fact that on these critical things about grades, if people have multiple things going on, it does create a little bit of a situation across different professors and different classes. But I agree with you. Everybody can do whatever they want. I'm just sharing an experience I had.
The reason I'm pushing back on it a little bit is because, from my experience of working on this academic standards committee, there is going to be a lot of pushback. There always is, because faculty wants to have their own prerogative. I think as long as you put it in your syllabus, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. And again, even if there is a general policy, you can void that. Your class is you are the supreme person in that class. Of course, you can't ask people to come on Christmas Day. You'll just be hated for that. but you can void certain policies,
So
even
I
if
think the general sense, I'm sorry, I think the general sense is to maintain faculty discretion. Having said that, I do want to just mention that I had a similar experience to George. The school scheduled a class. It was scheduled, a graduate class by the business school, for a holiday. And I had to go through all of this stuff. I was quoted things from the student about the undergraduate religious holiday policy, which is different than the graduate religious holiday. So I think, to the sense that this committee, if they could provide, for those of you that are interested in this, here is the information, here's a repository of information, so you don't have to do this research, you don't got to get caught up in this. Maybe legal counsel has looked at it to make sure that we're not in violation, and this is the kind of text you can add to your syllabus if you're interested in that. I would be very interested in some effort like that to provide the sort of text and at least a template for when faculty are interested in particular items, as opposed to, I'm coming down from the mount and we've chiseled these 10 commandments, right? So is that the sort of sense where we are, that we wouldn't mind getting sort of a menu item of things, if you're interested in this is the kind of way to say it, sort of thing?
Sure, but John, that is not fixing the problem, for example, that you had. Those are incompetencies and inconsistencies at the school level that need to be fixed. No one should do things like that, right?
Right, but I was able as a faculty member to, or for me, I was much more comfortable after I understood what the graduate policy was, why somebody could be confused because they were looking at an inconsistent policy, and then I could make a more intelligent decision. But as George said, it's an emotional roller coaster, because anytime you get anything religious in there and grades, it gets very difficult. And I was not happy that I had to invest the number of hours I needed to invest to understand this situation. And if the faculty in general have a place to go where they can get this synthesized for them, and people don't have to go through what George and I had to go through, again, maintaining your own discretion, I think that could be a valuable contribution to minimizing faculty, going down rabbit holes looking for things.
I would say that maybe the first point is to just ask the school if they have a language already around whatever points that we want to look at. If they have a recommended language that exists, instead of reinventing the wheel, because I don't know if they do or not. And then we can see if that looks reasonable to us, the language that they have. We can put that in as a recommended language for faculty, whoever wants to use it.
Yeah, Blanca, help me out here, but my understanding is we don't have something like that. I know Patricia Brill ran a sort of template, especially for the revised MBA program, but I think that's as close as we came. This is an effort to incorporate university policy and some of these other things, so it's a bit more comprehensive, but again, took on a life of its own.
So, Blanca, can you maybe look at that? Because my sense is that there is, because I don't know, I think I remember seeing something where there was this language specified for these kind of issues. So maybe...
To be honest with you, I didn't even know we have a different religious holiday policy for graduate and undergraduate.
I didn't know that either.
That's like, what? What?
I didn't know either. When people grow up and they're just bleed the ball, you know?
Maybe
So
links that people just click. When they do the document, the template document, if they just put links, they don't have to...
I thought there was all that effort done at some point. I could be wrong, but the reason I'm saying is maybe we just don't need to reinvent the whole wheel. If that thing exists somewhere and just went into the, metaverse, got lost somewhere.
Well, there business school, but there are people at the central administration level that are pushing this, and they want some feedback from us. So the sense that I'm getting is the council is not supportive of a document that dictates what should be in syllabi, but they are interested in
recommended guidelines or something.
Pardon me?
So maybe we can just say we would be interested in providing faculty with recommended guidelines around these issues, but we will not require faculty to use them.
Let me say one thing here. Some of these policies need to be consistent across the faculty. Because I understand you said faculty can do whatever they want, they own the classroom, but then think of the position you're putting the students in. One faculty says this, another faculty says no to something. It can be about religious things or exams. I mean, isn't that putting the students in a bit of a, and then you get some hard-ass faculty that doesn't want to change. I mean, to some extent, I think this is also done to ensure that there's consistency in what the students are getting and what the policies are across all their classes and across the school.
But Emmanuel, that's the point. Certain things,
how you teach your class, you can do whatever you want. Religious holiday should be holiday should be done. The grading thing should be done. How you teach your class, content, anything like that.
No, that thing is fine. I am expected to give people a religious holiday and a makeup and all that, but you can't tell me when to have that makeup exam. That is my prerogative. That is my schedule.
But they're not saying it's going to be on this day. They're just saying it has to be done before grades or before whatever or something like that.
Again, it doesn't have to be, right? So you can say, it's a scheduled date. I think there's a scheduled date, and I could say you take it after that day, you can take it before that day. That you cannot dictate to the faculty.
We don't need to solve these problems. We don't need to specify what these things are. What I was going for, and sorry to be a little vague in my approach, this is something that's coming up. They want some feedback. I was trying to structure something that we might be able to agree with. Somebody help me out if need be. Are we saying that we are not supportive of dictates or syllabi, but we are interested in knowing what are university policies and what are ways to integrate that, what is text to integrate that into our syllabi if we choose to.
Yes.
Okay, my understanding
I don't know that we can go further than that. Now, Emmanuel, we could decide after looking at this and say, hey, maybe the MBA program should decide this, or maybe this program should decide that. But that is a second order kind of discussion in my sense.
My understanding was they were sort of pushing this definitely through, right? Because I thought we were going to get basically a syllabi template which had all the university level policies and all that included. Because I hate looking for that stuff, and sometimes you have to put it in. So I thought it would be quite a helpful thing. Now, any laptops allowed in classrooms and all that kind of stuff, that's completely up to me. Like, I wouldn't want those kind of things be in a template that we have to follow. But I have no initial objection to saying there are certain university policies. We want that consistency across not even programs, across the entire schools.
Yeah.
I think the issue is how are some administrators interpreting what these policies mean in terms of pedagogical approaches. So just to be clear, we have not approved.
And that can be a slippery slope.
That's a concern. So we have not, as a council, we have not approved anything. And I think we need to, since it's I was initially supportive too. And then I saw some of these things that they're putting in, and I realized, okay, that would work for me, but it might not work for somebody else, yada, yada, yada.
I think we have to clearly identify what are university policies, and that's helpful for us, so then we're not getting in trouble by going against university policies. And what is just like recommended that we're free to say, okay, thanks for the suggestion, but no thanks.
And then also, how do you interpret a university policy? There may be more than one way to interpret it in terms of the pedagogical approach. So that's where I'm hoping, I'd be very happy to get their, clarity on the guidelines text that could be helpful for you. But are we, as a general statement, are we saying that we are not in favor of dictates that sort of cut across pedagogical approaches?
But I think I like your idea. I would love to see maybe best point is, as Alyssa said, that let's just get what the policies are currently.
All right, but Uzma, we need to provide some feedback to them as to where we are on general principles. So, or if they say this is the university calendar for undergraduates, this is the other, I don't know that gets us past our philosophical approach to what we're saying in terms of where we want to draw the line. Thank you, Emmanuel. So can we get a statement that what do you guys think? Or are we not going to get a statement? What's happening here?
I think, John, what you said is just fine. We don't want to dictate, and then we'll pick and choose what we want.
But I think it's important to do policies, but I think some of like the religious policies, they said that instructors can adapt. I have to respect religious holidays, but I'm the one to decide how the makeups are going to be done, or whether there will be makeups, or more on the second exam, or there won't be makeups, but you'll get an excused absence. That's based, and I think it says that even in the policy. That what I interpreted it to be is I have to respect the religious holiday. I have to know about the religious holiday beforehand, and then if it's on the day of an exam, I have to make accommodations, but those I have to put in my syllabus. How am I going to make those excused accommodations? Whether a lot of times somebody all of a sudden says I have to go to the hospital, right? They have to have some kind of documentation, or I'm sick. I'm sure you all hear that the day of the exam, right?
Yes.
All of us, right? You have to make it, but what is your if it's going to be excused, I make that judgment whether it's excused, and I think that's it. But I think it's great, John, that they allow us to know what are those policies. I can then put that into my syllabus, and that will be it.
All right, so then just in terms of something to send forward, can we say that the school council is interested in getting greater clarity about university policies?
Yes.
And we would be open to hearing suggestions
yes.
about how that might be manifest in terms of pedagogical approaches.
Right.
But we are not supportive of overarching dictates as to how we must implement things that could be open to multiple interpretations.
I just sent in only the last part. The first part, clear, it's just creating work. I would just send it in the last part. That, we're not open to dictates, we'll decide.
But pedagogical.
What I was trying to do is that there's been committees working on this, and there's central administration people that are very keen to this. My first part was, where can this information possibly be useful, and trying to be a little respectful to that time, but then making the bottom line be very clear that if there's multiple interpretations about how to do this from a pedagogical approach, which is clearly the purview of the faculty, that's where we're going to draw the line.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Everybody, I think it's very smart of us to actually have all of these policies in our syllabi, because more often than not, we hear this thing, oh, I never read that. He never said that.
No, right.
He never said that.
No, you definitely have to have it in the syllabi. I agree.
So I think it's a smart thing for all of us to just include a page syllabus. I'm actually thinking of getting to the students to sign every single page and give it to me, like
the lawyer. Put your initials next to it.
Actually, you don't need to do that. I know a colleague of mine, what he does, he just has one page that students sign. It's a contract that I have read the syllabus.
Okay, let's go.
This is very interesting, but I'd like us to avoid trying to do the work of the committee.
Right.
We've had a long meeting. I'm very respectful of your time. By the way, Blanca, you didn't happen to make any notes about what I said, because I can't even remember what the hell I said.
I was only able to capture some.
All right, I'll work with you after that, but go ahead, Alyssa?
Sorry, before we end,